Hi, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Diane, your lactation consultant, and I am a lactation consultant with children of my own. I have 3 kids. One is 25 years old. His name is Nathan. He lives in Arkansas. And I have twins that are 23, and that one is at school and one is here with me. And that is us. I've been a lactation consultant since 2008. So was a lactation consultant after my kids stopped breastfeeding. So everything I did during my lactation years, the years that I was breastfeeding those kids, I had no idea what was going on. Like I was guessing everything. So I would have loved to have a podcast to listen to. And I felt so alone while doing it too, you know?
It's one of those careers, I think, that usually people don't end up in until they realize that it's really hard themselves, you know? Like there's so many of these breastfeeding helpers that did it, got involved after their own breastfeeding experience.
Yep. So often that happens.
And I'm Abby, the badass breastfeeder, and I'm mom to Jack, who's 14, Exley, who's 11, and I have a social work background. And now I just homeschool my kids and do a podcast. And yeah, that's my life. And today's episode is brought to you by Nursing Queen, the maker of functional and stylish nursing clothes with hidden zipper and flap access that you would never notice. And today's episode is also brought to you by Original Sprout, our favorite bathroom brand. That sounds terrible. No.
Oh.
Shower.
Weird. Yeah.
Shower and body wash, lotion, hair stuff. And we will hear more from our sponsors later, but you can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Check out our sponsor page. They've all been carefully vetted for you. If you need anything, see if you can give them your business because they make this podcast possible. While you're there, scroll down, enter your email address, and we'll send episodes straight to your inbox. And we will be sending email exclusives for Original Sprout sales and events, including today's, which I'll just tell you, and I'll send you an email with the direct link and more information because I don't know.
That's how we do things.
Because
here.
we just do. We just want to tell you. We just want you to use the code and get the stuff.
Yeah.
And we're on Patreon. And yes, I do have a piece of paper with the information on it. That's what you hear. You will be able to join our judgment-free community where you can access lactation support from members, from myself, and from Diane, your lactation consultant, during our weekly wellness checks. Every week we have an opportunity to get together, ask questions, vent, get advice. And you'll also receive access to our new podcast, Revolution Parenting, where we talk about all things parenting. And you'll have a community of badasses to receive support from during the most challenging of times. Your membership helps fund evidence-based, no-nonsense support here on the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast and at Revolution Parenting. So head to the top link in the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from, and choose a tier that looks good to you. We're still hosting our ongoing giveaway for people who leave reviews around the internet, especially on iTunes, but Spotify, wherever you are, leave a review, take a screenshot, send it along with your address to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll send you a goodie bag of thank you for nursing in public cards and podcast stickers. If you can't leave a review or you've already done so and you want more, you want another goodie bag, share it on your socials, on your channels with your friends or whatever, and take a screenshot of that. And then we'll send you a goodie bag. And we'll also send you a goodie bag if you send a breastfeeding photo that I can share on my social media. With a little bit about yourself or not, it's okay. Send that along to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com. And now Diane has our review of the week.
And it says, "Hi, I just discovered your podcast after starting my breastfeeding journey with my son 5 weeks ago. No, this was just a few weeks ago, and absolutely love it. My decision to breastfeed has been mostly received positively, but have definitely received some judgment and skepticism about continuing once I return to work. Feeling empowered and supported after listening to your show. Thank you." I don't like that she wasn't getting good support when talking about breastfeeding and returning to work. It's absolutely manageable to breastfeed and return to work. It's totally okay. You can do it. We're here to support you through it. We have lots of episodes about it, and people do it all the time. We need a better maternity leave is what we need.
Oh, and that is such a great segue into today's episode.
Yeah.
Because, yes, you can do it, but it is scary, and it sounds like a lot for a reason, because it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. And people and the powers that be with all their money would like you to believe that you should just stop breastfeeding. That'll make it easier. Because breastfeeding doesn't matter. Just use formula, because you're going to need it when you go back to work, because it's just too much. And so this is what's going to help. Instead of giving us better support or better maternity leave to protect the breastfeeding relationship, because it is so essential. It's not a little small deal to just not breastfeed. It's actually a really big deal, and it has a lot of consequences. But formula companies and lobbyists and lawmakers would like you to believe otherwise. They would like you to just believe, well, oh, it's fine. You don't have to do that. Don't do that. It's too hard. Yeah, it's hard because you're making it hard.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're interviewing today. We have an interview with Jessica from the Breastfeeding Foundation. And please don't go away. Get ready to get mad. Get ready to mobilize. Get ready to shout it from the rooftops. You're going to be mad today, and it's going to be great. So it's such a good episode. Spoiler alert, the interview was recorded before, so I know how it went, as you can tell. Welcome, Jessica. We're so excited to have you on the podcast, taking time out of your day to join us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor.
Why don't you start with just telling us a little bit about yourself? Mm-hmm. And who you are, where you live, what you do. I hear a bit of an accent.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. My name is Jessica Isles. I live in Southern California. I founded the Breastfeeding Foundation about 1.5 years ago. My accent comes from London. I was born there, and my father was a diplomat, so he was American. And we all moved back to Washington, D.C. When I was 7. And then from there, I kind of grew up in the States, and we moved to Connecticut. And then I moved back to England sort of halfway through college, and lived there, met my husband, had my 4 lovely children. And then we ended up all moving back again when my youngest was 1 and my oldest was 9, nearly 10. And we settled in, Southern California near LA.
That sounds so nice. I live in Chicago, so it's really cold here, like 9 months out of the year. And then it's too hot to go outside.
Oh, I mean, the weather here is so ideal, especially in springtime. I feel very spoiled. And we have had some good rain this year, so no fires.
Yeah,
the rain. And then we should get the beautiful spring poppies.
Yes.
Which is
that sounds so nice. Yeah. I mean, there's many months out of the year where I'm like, why do I live here?
But I've heard Chicago's like an amazing place. So
it is. I mean, it is a really great city, and I do like living here, and that is why I really ultimately haven't left, because we do enjoy it. But I actually have When I was 16, my dad worked for, he actually worked for SC Johnson. It's like a company, whatever. And he was transferred to Holland. And so I lived in Amsterdam and then moved to New York City and Chicago. And so I've moved around a little bit as well. And I'm at this point, I'm like, I have to stop. I don't like it anymore. I mean, you've moved around a lot more than me.
Well, I understand the feeling. It's and then you think, oh, I should be moving, because my youngest is now 17. So we only have a couple more years really of her at home. And then you think, okay, where next? But the upheaval.
I know. Yes. Does your oldest have a plan? Like, does she want to go? Is she going to go to college in a faraway land?
My youngest is 17. My oldest
is 17. Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah. She, she wants to go to college. The eldest has already been through, and the two boys in the middle are doing community college to transfer, hopefully to UCLA. They have a pretty good system to do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I talk to my kids about community college all the time. Like, this is something to take advantage of. And
totally. Anyway, how old are your kids?
Well, I have Jack and Exley. They're 14 and 11. So they're still very young, but
yes.
I grew up with this whole idea of like, you have to go to college and, you become a lawyer or a doctor or an executive somewhere. And we've seen kind of what happens, with lifelong debt, joblessness and stuff like that. And I'm just like, go to community college, be employable. You don't have to you don't have to die in debt.
That's right. I mean, I grew up with exactly the same, college is the only answer.
Yeah.
And while I did enjoy it very much, my grandfather paid for it. So, my parents didn't have to. And also back in the day, it didn't bankrupt families.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's insane. So, my eldest was lucky enough to she's very academic. So she just got some scholarships. So that worked out for her. But the others, if you're not on that path, then community college is such a great option. I mean, we've found that to be really useful and good. Yeah. And as you say, the debt for a kid going forwards, I say you want to pay $500 a month back on your loans for that long.
Right. Yeah. For a long time.
Yes. Yeah. Like a lifetime.
Yes, a lifetime. Exactly. And they'll keep telling you they're going to relieve the student debt and then it won't happen.
No. Oh, no. I don't think so. But I think colleges, they charge too much and they have huge reserves as well. These colleges, billions of dollars they have in reserves. So I don't know.
It's like in America, everything operates as a for-profit company, even if it has no business doing so, like the healthcare system and the education system.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Yeah. And I totally agree. Capitalism has its place, but at some point you're like, what?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's devastating the community. And I feel like this might be a little bit of a segue into the Breastfeeding Foundation.
Yes.
So you founded the Breastfeeding Foundation.
I did.
What made you do that?
Yeah. So my breastfeeding journey took me to becoming a lactation education specialist. And I worked as that for a number of years. I mean, my life in breastfeeding has been 26 years now, literally since the birth of my first, and understanding and learning the system in which women are operating. And ultimately, from speaking to enough women in my role as a breastfeeding helper, I realized that in order to actually turn the United States from a formula feeding culture, which is what we are, into a breastfeeding culture, we have to make fundamental changes. And there aren't any charities that are addressing the issues right down to the granular level of the definition of breast milk and formula that is causing this downstream effect to create our culture of formula feeding. And I thought, I'm helping, women on a day-to-day basis, which I love doing. I love speaking to women. I love babies. I love that whole world. But the challenges that they are up against and the misinformation and deception that they're being exposed to on a daily basis is not being addressed. And I thought, I'm not going to get real change unless I do my own thing. none of the charities are addressing the issues in that way. They are all essential. Everything that every woman, because it's pretty much all women, doing the advocacy work for breastfeeding are doing incredible and essential work. It's just that they're up against an industry which is far better funded, far cleverer and manipulative than we are.
That is just so true. I mean, it's like we have these passionate, well-meaning women who want to help each other. And then we have this like corporate monster that is funded by every other like monster and, lobbyist or whatever that exists around it. It's like, it feels, I come up against this feeling so much, like multiple times a month. Like, this is hopeless.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to say that, but like it feels so awful. And I feel like that's why we act the way we act. We're like advocating for each other and we're like, oh, because we know like ultimately this looming, monster, it's going to be there. Or, you what do you think?
Yes, I completely agree with you. And as you say, many days we feel hopeless and helpless. And I wake up and I just think, not again, another. And, Bobbie is one of the newest ones on the scene, and their advertising is really sinister. And so we do need more public health campaigns for formula using those techniques. But I have met many women who, I don't know if you've seen the Bobbie ads that are like, there's one where this woman is standing up there, I'm not breastfeeding because I don't want to, or something like that, and it's like, why wouldn't you want to? That's not because so many women are put under so much pressure to behave a certain way in our society that breastfeeding just seems like too much.
Right.
And I get that. But with the United States, the Breastfeeding Foundation is aiming to shift the 6-month exclusive breastfeeding rates from 25% to 75%. So we get that flip from 25-75 to 75-25 formula. And at the moment, it's around 25 or 26%. The CDC has Healthy People 2030 goals to reach a 42.4% exclusive breastfeeding rate. Well, breastfeeding rates have stagnated over the past 7 years, right? They're not really increasing, tiny, tiny amounts year on year. So if the CDC is going to succeed, they would have to increase the growth rate from, say, 0.7% to like 4% per year. They're not going to do that. And I did actually put a presentation together for RFK and the HHS and the CDC on why not and how to make that happen. And one of the things was banning formula marketing completely because it's inherently deceptive. People have tried to do this before. And it doesn't work because when it gets to court, the court says, well, this is basically considered protected commercial speech.
Of course, yes, because capitalism is more protected than people.
Exactly. But the truth is breastfeeding is not a commercial activity. So there is a legal argument there, which we're going to be tackling, A. And B, at the moment, the FDA actually defines formula and breast milk loosely as foods. Right? Neither one is actually a food. Breast milk is much more than a food. And I would suggest that formula is less than a food. It's not because breast milk is the norm and formula is just a sort of rudimentary nutrient substance. Yes. It's missing so much that breast milk has. So one of the things the foundation is doing is looking to have a reclassification and a redefining of breast milk as a bioactive live pharmaceutical, which needs to be protected, and formula as an emergency use only, specialized food for those infants who need it after we've provided as much screened human milk as we can. So obviously we need to ramp up the human milk supply. But so by redefining them as two separate things, they're not going to stand in the court of law as equals that can be actual competitors. So if you go back to the FDA, so that is one of the things that's novel and not being done, and I feel extremely necessary.
And is this is one of the things that the Breastfeeding Foundation is tackling?
Yes.
How do you do that?
So through the FDA, we have two citizens petitions. I mean, these citizens petitions are actually asking the FDA to require health risk warnings on formula for a start. So on the packaging, so the FDA regulates on packaging claims, and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, actually regulates advertising and social media. And the FDA, so we have a citizen's petition, and anyone can go and sign it. So I hope that everyone wants to and does. And you go to the FDA, there's a link on the website, and you just sign two petitions. One saying, yes, women, families, communities need to know the risks, the health risks of formula. A, and B, that formula is also risky to mothers. So only because we don't breastfeed, so not breastfeeding can cause health risks to mother. And then the FTC, there's one that we've submitted on omission of material fact, which is that women don't realize that the use of formula can lower milk supply. And women need to, it becomes dependent. So women become dependent on formula without even knowing what's happening.
Right.
And this is
their goal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's their goal with the misinformation, with the withholding information, the absolute lies and aggressive marketing is just so that you don't know what's going on and you become addicted to their product.
Yes, completely.
It was the same thing with smoking.
Same. And the opioid epidemic.
Yeah.
And there's that, there's a documentary about it. Hopefully one day someone will make the documentary about the deceptive marketing tactics of the formula industry. Yeah. Because women we don't want to be deceived. We want the truth. Everybody wants clear labeling.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how we approach it. I'm going to be in Washington in early June. So I'll be meeting with representatives and talking to them about how we get the definitions redone. Also with the FDA, this isn't something that actually needs to go through representatives. So it can be quick because these regulatory agencies can just respond to people like you and me. And so if I say your definitions are actually from the 1960s, when we actually thought that formula was in fact a relatively decent substitute for breast milk. So all of how Washington now operates is on the basis of 1960s science. No joke.
Yeah. Oh no, I believe it. And and I mean, it goes back to even before this, when with formula companies saying things like, your milk doesn't have enough calories in it, or it doesn't have all this. This was like early 1900s crap that they were feeding into customers through pediatricians and doctors and stuff. And it's they are still doing it. It's really it's the same.
It's the same. And the American Academy of Pediatrics still accepts money from the formula industry, and the formula industry is one of the biggest displays at their annual conference. They have like a train that choo-choos around the ceiling on a
oh God, really?
Yes. And any individual doctor, on a state level and on a federal level, they accept they can accept money and whatever. That's why they have their leaflets out, and it's all it's a shame. And I've been campaigning for years to have them stop accepting money from the formula industry.
The financial relationships is so incestuous. It's so It's so disgusting. Like, it shouldn't be legal.
It is disgusting, and it shouldn't be legal. None of this should be legal, and that's why the foundation is doing what we're doing, because there's a lot of sort of soft messaging that goes on. Oh, breast is best, or well, we're not supposed to say that anymore. I mean, I do, because the Fed is best slogan, you probably know this, came out of the 2015, I think Abbott Mead marketing testing group, where that was the line that was most effective at undermining breastfeeding advocacy.
And that's exactly what it does.
It does.
It's a silencer. It's like you can't say when somebody says, well, fed is best. I mean, that's what it does. It makes that so you can't continue to talk about actual science.
Yes, exactly. Well, my response to that is, well, fed is necessary. It isn't best. And, fed is best in most circumstances. Obviously, it's not universal. Nothing is. But when we're trying to bring the best health for mothers and babies, we need to be able to tell the truth without being silenced. And the techniques and tactics of the formula industry to silence us are very psychologically clever. As soon as you speak a fact about breastfeeding, stop shaming moms. Well, when did a fact become shaming? It's just a technique to make you go, I'm so sorry. Well, don't worry about it. What I mean is, of course, formula is fine. And then before you know it, you're inadvertently, promoting formula.
Right,
and you started out just trying to help a mother understand her risks to her and her baby. So yes. And I've explored a lot of these issues on my Substack if listeners are interested. But they are very clever. I used to, before my world of breastfeeding, I was in PR and marketing in the healthcare field. And so I saw a lot of the nonsense that went on in that. And it's the same tactics that they use now. And women, when we talk about choice, women have choice. So this is another area that we're looking at. Women in the United States don't have what I would call choice. Choice to me is informed and it's supported. If we are not informed, which we're not because the formula industry is allowed to lie to us, and if we aren't supported with education, enough lactation consultants and paid leave, for heaven's sakes, how can we say that's a choice? It's not. We are between a rock and a hard place, and it doesn't feel good. And women are really, they're standing up now and saying, "What we don't want to do it all. We can, but why should we have to? And we don't want to." So there's an opening here, I feel, for women to say, because we want leave to nourish and nurture our babies, that doesn't make us less than in any way. It makes us more than. Besides, having a baby and breastfeeding them adds more to the GDP than going back to work or a man will ever do. There is no GDP without a new baby. And the GDP is diminished with the poor health that formula causes and the lack of productivity. So another area is the economic area of really breastfeeding is an economic powerhouse. And women are. But the World Health Organization and other organizations, whoever decides what goes on the GDP, women's biological labor is not on there. And that's another fundamental thing we need to change, because feminism kind of stops short. It's like, you can be men and that's being feminist. I don't see that as being feminist at all, because biologically we need different accommodations, if you want to call them that. And we need to be recognized for the massive financial boost that basically unpaid labor is that they're taking advantage of. So feminism needs to dig deeper. And I call it biological feminism, where we're out there saying, this is what our bodies do. It's a miracle, but this is what we want in order to enjoy it and provide the best outcome for humanity.
We'll be right back with Jessica after a word from our sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by Nursing Queen, our favorite nursing brand, with their hidden zippers and hidden flap access for breastfeeding. And their styles are endless. They have a new spring line of dresses out, which are very cute. We have long dresses all the way to the floor, knee length dresses with amazing patterns. And again, the zippers, the hidden zippers, you would have no idea. And pockets. You would have no idea that it's nursing wear. They're very cute. And you can use code BADASS at nursingqueen.com. Head to nursingqueen.com. Check out the dresses. Check out their sweatshirts, which I think are Diana and I's favorite things.
Yeah, for sure.
And they also have summer clothing. I mean, they have like tank tops with a hidden breastfeeding access. So you are not having to undress, lifting up your shirt, pulling your shirt down, stretching it out. You can do this in the hot summer wearing a tank top and no one will be able to tell. So head to nursingqueen.com, use code BADASS, and you will receive 10% off of your purchase. And today's episode is also brought to you by Original Sprout. And Original Sprout is vegan, free of phthalates, sulfates, parabens, and all of that stuff that we don't want to put on our newborn babies. And you can stock up your shower with all of the shampoo, all of the conditioner, and hair products and lotion, and everyone in your house, from the smelliest, biggest member to the tiniest, smelliest member, can safely use their products. And the special for this week, which you will receive more information about if you are an email subscriber, but I'll tell you a little secret. It's 3 ounces of classic hair gel for 50% off. So take advantage of that classic hair gel. Use code BADASS26 when you check out, and you will receive 50% off. That's originalsprout.com, code BADASS26, and we'll get 50% off. So all of our sponsors and the promo codes can be found in the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from. You can also find it over at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Over there, you'll find all of our other episodes. We are coming on to 500.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find all those over there. You'll also find our favorite resources page and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Diane.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was just having this conversation with some friends, and we were talking about how, God, I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. You know, how we could be wrong about this too, you know, because we're just some gals sitting around. But we were saying how, you know, the woman in a relationship, and obviously these are like very gendered. This is a very gendered conversation, but let's go for a second.
Yeah.
The woman is going to be more likely to leave than the man, because the man benefits from all of the emotional unpaid labor that a woman does in the house. And I mean, this is the group of us talking are parents of younger kids, you know, who are homeschooling as well. So we're not employed full time outside of the house. Mm-hmm. And we are married to men who are employed full time out of the house. And, you know, we're thinking like, yeah, you know, this is, men greatly benefit from all of the unpaid work that we do.
Right.
And it wouldn't work.
No, right.
It just wouldn't work if this setup, capitalism wouldn't work without this setup of women's unpaid labor.
You know what? I'm trying to make it work. We need to be paid.
Thank you.
We need to be paid for this labor.
Right.
And guess what? We can afford it. Like what? How can we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, and the numbers show it, and the number crunching. Anyone out there who is a health economist, I would love your help. I have done my own number crunching to show that actually breastfeeding for 2 years could afford a stipend for every mother in the United States from the savings, right, of $5,000 a month. I'm not kidding. Because when you take the savings over the lifetime of the child and you condense it to the present moment, you can then pay the mother. And same with the mother's health issues and productivity. So it's called discounted cash flow, and it's an economic modeling that helps companies decide how much they can invest, right? So breastfeeding and mothers are an investment. And we don't see it that way, and we need to. And every mother who's having a child and breastfeeding is the economy. What else is there? I mean, if the human race peters out, there's nothing left.
It's true. Yeah. What are the formula companies going to sell to?
Right. There's just nothing. So, there are so many aspects to this. And this sort of, I was listening to your podcast on the woman who said, formula makes a marriage equal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But there isn't such a thing as equality between two biological sexes that are so completely different. How can she forgot to say, well, it was equal in that moment, but I increased my risk of breast cancer. So then how is that equal? Or my baby now has an ear infection. So we're both home from work, or we both lose sleep at night over that, because we chose to formula feed. Also, as soon as you get pregnant, well, where's the equality? So to me, it's the wrong word. It's the wrong perspective. Most women, I would say, well, yes, statistics say more women want to be with their babies, certainly in those early years, because that nurturing is within our hormonal profile, especially when you're breastfeeding, and they talk about equality in sleeping. Well, women have oxytocin and prolactin, and these hormones help us drop back asleep more quickly. They help us remain less stressed. So waking up is less stressful. And if you're asking your partner who's a male who doesn't have the advantage of those breastfeeding hormones to do that, there's no equality in that either. Yeah. So I suppose if you're formula feeding and neither one of you have those hormones that benefit, then you could call that more equal. But I think the conversations like those all benefit the formula industry. They don't benefit women and babies.
That is very, very interesting. You have moved around. So you've been at this for a while now, which has taken you to different countries with this work. Is that right?
No, I began the Breastfeeding Foundation a year and a half ago.
Well, I should say your breastfeeding peer, your education.
Oh, yes, right. So my first exposure to breastfeeding, the necessity of breastfeeding, I actually ran Bravado Bras Europe. I ran the whole organization. Yes.
We've worked with Bravado before.
You guys have you?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Great company, great bras. And I did my prenatal yoga class with this wonderful woman, Julie Krause. She did active birth. And on the form, it said, well, what do you do? All the mothers, I was in PR and marketing. So when my first was about 9 months old, she called. She's like, we really need help with marketing and PR. And, are you free? And I was like, oh, baby's 9 months old. I had a wonderful, time to bond and be with her and establish breastfeeding. It was amazing. I mean, privileged, but should be considered totally normal, right? We call it privileged. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I said, yeah, I'd love to. And so I got loads of PR and stuff for them. Their market grew and grew. It grew too big for her. And then the head office asked me to take over all the operations for the UK and Europe. So that's what I did for many years. And I brought my babies around with me all over Europe, traveling with the company. And, it was great because I was a good spokesperson for breastfeeding. But beyond that, I got to go to so many sort of grassroots conferences and educational seminars, and I learned so much. And I remember thinking, wait, how could anybody not breastfeed when they know this? And I thought, well, of course, they don't know this.
Yeah, right. On purpose. It's designed that way. Exactly. And I thought that it's because now I know this. And,
the sense of sort of disappointment in our culture was really profound. Just letting women down and letting people and believe that they weren't able to breastfeed, or that it was difficult or painful for everybody, or that it was all inevitable, this natural process, which of course we don't consider natural because we don't see it. Sure. And if we don't see breastfeeding, we can't imprint that behavior on our psyche. Right. Because it's so important, the imprinting. I mean, sports people use it, they watch tennis.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You learn from watching. And so we don't see that. And in cultures where it's prevalent and people aren't wearing tops and whatever. They remember breastfeeding. They see breastfeeding. They have it all around them. That is what makes it natural, But the formula go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to, because I think here in the United States, especially if you've never left the United States, you're like, this is normal. We live in this normal world. This is normal. We just like, and when you leave, you kind of see like, this is maybe not so normal, maybe not so healthy. And like, well, as far as breastfeeding, like norms, rates, like anything that comes to mind, like what did you think about the United States compared to other countries? Like, for example, the the WHO code and how we don't follow that at all and how other countries do. And did you see the effects of that? And
Yeah, well, so really, in terms of European breastfeeding rates, England was one of the worst, strangely. And America right behind. They give a lot of formula away on their national health system, and that's not good. And they have a very big welfare system, which doesn't help women breastfeed.
Right.
So that's obviously a problem. Other countries, I feel like Europe is relatively, their breastfeeding rates aren't so different, but for different reasons. They're better than the United States. I think at 6 months, I don't have the statistics off the top of my head, but in terms of breastfeeding bras, it was, and sales, for example, it was slowly increasing, over the time I was there, but not substantially, and I actually think that 2015 Fed is Best campaign stalled it really big time. Yeah, it's quite incredible. But the WHO code is followed by more, I would say, lower income countries, like Burundi, Rwanda. Yes. That's what's crazy. And those places have much higher breastfeeding rates. I think Rwanda has the highest breastfeeding rate in the world at 6 months, like at 86%, something crazy like that. Yeah. And I looked up why. And of course, partly, sorry.
No, don't worry about it. We've always got like dogs or someone walking by. Don't worry about it.
Partly because they don't have access to formula and they don't have access to clean water.
Yes.
Either. And so their culture has had to develop, support for women. Their working style is designed to work around a breastfeeding mother. So there are many jobs that we could have in our culture that women can breastfeed around, but we don't accommodate it in that way. So they might work in a tea factory, for example, and they will have their babies on their back all day. They have breastfeeding spaces. They have breastfeeding breaks. And they also have a government which is very supportive of breastfeeding. And so they have constant messaging. And so these are all, and they don't have any advertising for formula, none.
Yeah, and like we talk about low income countries, and you were talking about the welfare system in England having a large welfare system, and these because the welfare system here too, which is mainly made up of Black people, Black families, is a very highly targeted.
It is
population. Because, they don't have, a lot of the information. They don't have the resources. They don't have these protections that other people have and that they should have. And that it sounds like Rwanda has.
Right.
If they have this government that is supportive of breastfeeding, then their people are protected. But there are other very low income countries where they don't have access to clean water and all of these things that formula companies target very aggressively.
Yes, it's
purpose.
It's a tragedy, and more babies die. They die, and I think it's 800,000 babies die per year around the world due to formula use, because not lacking clean water, then potentially just getting a normal infection that would be overcome with breastfeeding, but that infection takes them because they don't have the antibodies and the stem cells and everything that's in breast milk. But it's interesting when you talk about, lower income families, Black families or certain ethnic backgrounds, that to me is discrimination. It's disgusting that they are exploited. Yeah. The US government buys 50% of all formula sold in the United States. So via WIC, the women children. Right. And none of these women actually know that the use of formula is going to tank their supply. They're not told that. And I don't think any of them are actually told of the risks of formula. The language is usually, the benefits of breastfeeding. That's a nonsense. Breastfeeding is the baseline. And we're not treating these women as, as being able to make these decisions for themselves. And by providing this formula on the government's tab, you're basically saying, well, lower income women don't make milk. Of course they do. Now, I understand the need to provide some formula at some times, of course, but as a general rule, we need to invest far more in breastfeeding support through WIC, which they're doing, and it's growing. But let's redirect some of those formula subsidies to breastfeeding support. They do have this rebate system that they argue, finances all of WIC. It's extremely complicated, but I looked up to see how much the government actually pays for formula for WIC per year. There are no cited statistics. It's not possible. They don't separate out that expense from other WIC expenses. And I thought, that's crazy. Yeah.
They must do that somewhere secretly. Someone knows.
Someone knows.
Well, that's something I was watching this. I can't remember what it was, and this was maybe last year or something, but there was one of these kind of global breastfeeding summit things where all of these amazing scientists were there discussing with each other, preaching to the choir about breast milk and all the research they'd done and all of this, amazing stuff. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, like, we have the smartest people in the world doing science, peer-reviewed studies on breast milk, putting out actual, reliable science. And then we just we're like, oh, that's interesting. And then we go back to our life. It's like nobody, it's insane to me how much we know and how much formula companies and the American government and all of the governments, I guess, that work with the companies and stuff within that country to just block that information from you.
I completely agree. It blows my mind. I'm like, we have all of this research and yet we still act and we still have a formula feeding culture, and it is becoming a formula feeding world. Instead of stopping and shifting, no, the formula industry has plans to grow. And I wrote an article about how can the formula industry grow and the CDC achieve its goals of increasing breastfeeding rates. In the US, that's not going to happen. It isn't possible for both to increase. Right. So something's going to have to give. And my role, as I see it, is to make sure that the formula industry doesn't go anywhere. I want to see it marginalized with all this science that you're talking about. Like, we know all of this, but the FDA doesn't seem to know it. They're part of, they work
but
with
they do, right? Like, they do.
They do, because the HHS, which is the government department, has all the research itself. And maybe it was the UCSD clinic that you're talking about. They had this fantastic conference on how incredible breast milk is and how they can use it to cure this, that, and the other. And yet still, we're not allowed to say that, well, formula has risks because of what it lacks. It lacks so much. And yet we're not allowed to say, without saying, oh, you're shaming women who can't breastfeed, And yet it's an absurdity and it's a shame. And it must change, and it will change. America is very good at changing things when it comes to a tipping point. I really do feel that. It's like they stay out, they back up, and then finally they're like, oh, wait, we got to do something. So I believe they will. But everybody,
we'd love to wait until a whole bunch of people die. And it's an emergency. And then it's okay, all right, we can't hide this secret anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, eventually some politician is going to have to say to a formula industry head, look, we can't pretend that we can't keep supporting you and this narrative anymore. We're going to have to give you an off-ramp, you, the formula industry. You want to get into screening human milk? Let's make that happen for you. Whatever transition this industry needs to make instead of fighting so hard against breastfeeding mothers. I mean, they lobby against paid leave because paid leave helps women breastfeed for longer.
Yeah, and the only reason to do that, there's only one reason to do that, and that's to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy to me because y'all still have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's still a product that people are going to use and buy.
Yes and no.
I mean, not to the extent, but they're still
Right.
going to have money.
It's still going to, right. It's still going to be an industry that's needed, and particularly for sort of medical emergencies. And those are going to be way more expensive. So maybe the price goes up, and the government obviously is going to have to help, or insurance companies be able to provide these bespoke formulas for situations where somehow breast milk just doesn't work. And those things are going to be more expensive. Is it ever going to climb back up to the heights it was at? No. By 2030, if the CDC reaches its goals of 42% exclusive breastfeeding rates at 6 months, the formula industry will be losing $1 billion a year. Out of that approximately $5 to $7 billion industry now that we have in the state, they're going to lose $1 billion a year. How much do you think they're going to invest in fighting that between now and 2030? At least $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're up against. And I don't see the government putting in $1 billion helping breastfeeding, Yeah. So there's a huge imbalance. But this is why I feel like if we band together, all of us, and say we're going to change the definitions first of all, so the government uses the current science, as you say, these incredible scientists, and so that all of that science is used, and that then translates downstream into the laws that protect women, the laws that protect breastfeeding, the laws that make sure that breast milk is accessible. We had a formula law put in place to make sure, there was a formula shortage, in 2022. Well, it was a manufactured breast milk shortage. Formula companies made sure we didn't have breast milk, so we had to rely on them. Actually, it's a breast milk shortage. And they then put an act in place saying we need supply resiliency for formula. Well, where's the supply resiliency for breastfeeding and breast milk? There isn't one. There isn't something that says women have a right, an inalienable right to be near their babies in order to feed them. That is the resiliency plan for women. And childcare interferes with that. If we're going to be paying for childcare, we have to make sure that it doesn't discriminate against breastfeeding mothers. The separation of a mother and her baby means that breastfeeding is more difficult, right?
Yeah.
And so we need childcare. I'm proposing childcare vouchers so that a woman can pay herself with those vouchers, or she can pay a childcare center or a family member or another professional. But that voucher can be used for her so that she is actually paid for this biological labor. We don't want the federal government paying for childcare where a mother has to drop the child off, and then this jeopardizes her breastfeeding relationship.
Right. Yeah, and what you were talking about in the beginning, you were talking about the numbers and the ability to afford this type of thing. And not only can we not afford it, but it's a very small amount of money compared to all the other money that's being spent, just government money in general.
Tiny fraction. Yep.
Just trillions of dollars being shifted around and spent on various things.
Absolutely.
This is not good. This is really not a large amount of money.
Not at all. It's literally a drop in the bucket. It's absurd. And breastfeeding pays for itself. Right. Having a baby pays for itself. Why are we asking women to do the child making? If you see us as a manufacturing plant, we make babies, we make milk. Why are we doing that? And then also being expected to go out and, do anything else like that a man is doing. Now, I'm not saying don't do it. If you love your job and that's fantastic, great, do it. But there's a season in women's lives where, being that biological presence with your baby enhances both lives so dramatically that you want to say, let's just relax into that space. And after that time, go and pursue whatever career you want and have. Because the truth is that women at home will come together. And I see this so much, and you probably do, these wonderful communities of women who want to be together, mother together. We are not meant to mother alone.
No,
I see
yes.
lonely women. It makes me want to cry. They feel stuck at home. They're struggling with breastfeeding. They don't feel confident going out in public. I mean, imagine a culture that we don't accept breastfeeding freely in public. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting more accepted, but that a woman would ever feel that she can't leave her home and she's trapped there. But if we change our culture to a breastfeeding culture, women will come together and create different businesses, different communities. Their world will look very different during that season of their life, and it will grow. It won't shrink. It will grow to be this amazing space of industry and wondrous connection, I believe, and support, great support. Women don't let each other down. And I think there's a lot of capitalism is making women sort of feel so competitive with each other.
Well, the mommy wars, that was like straight out of Formula Town.
Straight out of Formula Town.
You know, they were like, "Oh yeah, mommy wars. Stop mommy warming with each other," which we weren't doing until it became like a thing.
Right. Yeah. They want to label it, right? And so they want us fighting with each other. So they kind of start up these fights or suggesting that we're undermining each other or whatever it is, so that we don't point the finger at their companies that are making subpar products.
And that is like such the brilliance of this. Like, there's so many smart people behind these like campaigns and all of this. It's like, can you do something for good? That would be great. But like, you know, it's so genius to just like create the infighting, and it's like you have all these parents doing the marketing for you.
Absolutely.
You have free advertising of just like create a fight over there and sit back and laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question, and it's just kind of nagging at me.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the CDC and the CDC's plan to increase breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. Do they take money from formula companies?
No, thankfully, as far as I know, they do not. I think it's more like, I want to say...
Because the American Academy of Pediatrics does.
They do. The CDC, mainly the government, pays out the dairy industry and the formula industry. So the United States government subsidizes the dairy industry, which obviously makes the formula, and they subsidize the formula industry directly. And I believe it's through the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did look all this up because I was getting, as you say, feeling hopeless and helpless. I was like, please, no, don't tell me that. They don't. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, the American Academy of Pediatrics is like, you know, exclusively breastfeed, do all these things. Like, they came out recently and were like recommending it for 2 years.
Yeah.
But they take money from formula companies.
Yeah. And they've been called out on it. They're like, oh, well, you know, our messaging is clear. No, it isn't. When you have trade association national conferences where you are endorsing these companies, you're basically telling all your members that this is a suitable / equal way of feeding a child.
Right.
And that the formula industry, they buy every single publication the AAP publishes every single year.
Wait, they
yeah, that's part of their contribution to the AAP too. Every single publication that's reprinted or done, they buy it every single year. So not only do they donate and give, you know, and that they're at their conferences, and I just mentioned the national conferences. I haven't looked into each state's, AAP conference, but I'm imagining they're there as well. And they claim, well, this is part of making sure that, all babies are, seen to or fed. And I was like, I don't think that's not necessary. You can do teaching episodes or teaching webinars to healthcare professionals, which don't glorify formula, and also they have, pediatricians, most pediatricians recommend on the packaging, or our milk closest, our formula closest to breast milk yet. And haven't seen any doctors stand up and say, well, that's nonsense.
Well, no, because is it true too? Because I remember reading, I'm not going to remember, but like the formula companies hold on like medical curriculum, and they're kind of like they're putting out their messaging through like the curriculum that doctors are studying from.
That may be the case. I mean, I've been advocating for doctors, because through RFK, for good or for bad, whatever he's doing, in my opinion, in terms of nutrition, he's trying to help, and he has said that medical schools need to have nutrition training for doctors. And I've said, well, let's get the risks of formula in there too. And then also breastfeeding training, rather than, because I think dietitians and stuff, they're trained in like how to prepare formula, not necessarily.
Yes. And this is, I'm remembering now, it was Dr. Jenny Thomas. She wrote a book, and I can like pass this on if anybody wants it, but she talks about in her book, she went to like a breastfeeding conference or something. And people are talking about, the benefits of breastfeeding, the breast milk and everything. And she was like, how do I not know this?
Seriously?
How did I get through medical school? She's like, I can name every single ingredient in formula. I can tell you every single thing they taught us about formula. So I didn't learn anything about breast milk. And how is this possible that this person up here is saying all this stuff about breast milk and I don't know it? And she's the kind of person, I actually know her. She's the kind of person where she went on and she got her IBCLC. And then she now she works very hard at advocating for breastfeeding all across the country. But she, where was I going with that?
Well, that is an incredible story. Yeah.
So then you have you have these parents who don't know.
Yeah.
And then you go to the doctor who are licensed through the regulated through the American Academy of Pediatrics, who don't know the information about breast milk. Yeah. It trickles down this on purpose.
Yep.
This the smoke and mirrors is trickling down to everybody. It's like, well, don't tell them that.
Mm-hmm. I bet you they're not taught. That, if you do formula feed, you need to be extra careful with various things like respiratory infections, like gastrointestinal infections, like ear infections. If your child gets one of those and they're exclusively formula fed, you're going to have to keep a closer eye on it. Where is the backup plan for the baby who is just formula fed? Also with the, higher risk of obesity or SIDS.
Yes, I was just going to say this, all the childhood diseases.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, some of these women justify formula use and say, oh, well, they grow out of all of these things. Well, what about the suffering as a baby and a child? Even if you do accept that there is no ill effects in adults, which there clearly is.
Right.
Even if you accept that, you're basically saying, it doesn't matter if a baby suffers. It doesn't matter if their risk of hospitalization is increased from use of formula. It all comes out in the wash. It's such a strange thing to say.
It is. I mean, and there's childhood, I think there's links to like certain childhood cancers.
Yeah,
what you grow out of that. I mean, right. You don't just grow out.
Also with the microbiome now, there's so much more emphasis on that. So kids on formula take more antibiotics. So not only does the formula disrupt the gut microbiome, clearly, and because it doesn't feed the seeding coming through the birth canal, but it also then the antibiotics damage it even further. And you want to avoid antibiotics. So if you're given formula, they're at increased risk of having to use them. And so you're further damaging. And none of this is made, parents are never made aware of this.
No. It's very scary. And
it's scary and it's unfair. It's horrible. And, and this industry, I think it's like 80 billion worldwide, something insane.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Yeah. And in America, I think it's sort of like and everyone will give you a different, but it's between $5 and $8 billion a year. And this is by suppressing a natural female biological mechanism. There isn't another product on the market that does that its success is dependent on shutting down as many women's milk supply as possible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's dependent upon that. And we're just being used. We're exploited with deceptive marketing, and our system supports it. And this must stop.
I fully agree. And I could go on about this all day.
I know,
and
me too.
I hope you come back, because I know that we were kind of, we talked about a million different things. And
many different things.
Really love it if you come back. This is a very favorite topic of mine. And
well, it's so interesting and so important. And I'm so happy that there's people out there who want to discuss it, who are interested in it, and know that there is an answer, that we can change this. Women can make things better for themselves. But it does take working together and not feeling afraid to say formula use is risky. It isn't that breastfeeding is best or better or whatever line the formula industry wants us to say. Formula feeding is risky, and we need to change our cultures to support women in every way we can in order to breastfeed. So yes, and you're doing such a great job with that, and having literally a community every week of people who come in and listen and find support, and mums who've been through. Because it isn't easy in a culture that's designed around formula feeding.
Right. And Jessica is talking about all of you. Mm-hmm. And now you all have a job today. Usually your job is to just listen and learn and all of that. Today you have a job. You're going to go down into the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from, and you're going to find all of the things that we talked about today, including the link to the petition that everybody needs to sign. And what else? What else is there? What else? So we have a call to action. So we'll sign the petition.
So much. Call to action. Sign both petitions. Links will take you straight through. It's easy. You can call the FTC as well if you want to. I can provide the number for that, saying you want women to know that formula feeding can jeopardize their milk supply. And then if you are in a position to donate, we can. The purpose of the donation is to get the clear labeling, so to help send me or a company to Washington to lobby the FDA for actual labeling on these on the formula packaging, and also to change the classification system, which is really fundamental. So if you can donate, please do, because the formula lobbyists are there every day. They meet with the FDA, I think, pretty much every day on things that you would think were good. Oh, formula safety and nutrient profile and blah, blah, blah. Well, but at the same time, they're then suggesting or assuming that formula is absolutely necessary, but breastfeeding isn't. We don't have anyone sitting in on those meetings. That's what we must have. We must have advocacy and lobbyists every day in Washington, and we will get change with that.
Well, and I think that's the biggest trick the devil ever pulled, right? Is making women believe that not only is breastfeeding too much, because girlfriend, you got to go to work, you got to do this, you got to take care of all these things, you got to take care of the house, you got to take care of your partner. So breastfeeding is just gonna be too much for you. And also, just remember, breastfeeding is not essential.
Right.
It's not that big of a bit. It's not necessary. It is just. It's trivial. It's, I'm not going to remember this right now. It was just in a song Jack and I were listening to the other day. We were talking about some kind of flippery, something flippery. It was like, it's like a word for, like unnecessary and flashy, like accessories.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't know the word. Mm-hmm. But we both thought it was really funny. And I think that's what they want you to think breastfeeding is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Slippery.
Yes, I totally agree. I love that word.
I know. It's so good. And there was another word that came before it. I don't know if that was an essential word. I don't know if that changes. I don't know. But flippery is a great word. And I want to also say, when I was in grad school, getting my master's degree in social work, we had a professor there who was like, there's not enough social workers in policy, working, trying to lobby for, things to help people and all of this. And people tend to go into social work because they want to do that one-on-one, right, helping people and all of this. And there's just not enough people doing the policy work, which is so important. Mm-hmm. And I think the same goes for the, I would say the social worker subculture of lactation. We don't have a lot of people doing that policy work and bringing attention to those policy things. And that's what you do. And thank you so much for doing that, because it takes a kind of special person and a personality to be able to take on all these people just so bravely.
Thank you. Yeah, I kept turning away from it for years. I was like, I can't do this. Someone else must be doing it. Mm-hmm. And my husband said, they're not, do it. He was such a great support. He was such a great supporter of all the breastfeeding and the natural stuff. And it came to this, he's like, you don't have a choice. And then I would just let it go for a while. And then the voice came back, you have to do this. So I'm stuck in it. Unfortunately, I can't get out now. I'm taking it to the end.
That's fantastic. And you know what? There's probably people listening right now who maybe they have a similar voice. And if you do, reach out and I can connect you with Jessica, or I don't know if you...
Please, I would absolutely love help. And I see people on Instagram with the best messages are out there. Any mother who's out there who feels like her skills in any way or just support, someone to call and say, hi, I'm doing this again today. And they're like, good for you. You can do it.
Yeah.
Literally that. And anybody even, or perhaps with a degree, any degrees like in the health economics or the sciences or anything. And more than that, I'm increasing the board, members of the board. So if anyone's interested, and yes, and you don't have to contribute loads of time, but just occasionally when I say, oh, do you have any information on this? Or do you know how to make a good logo? I still don't have a logo that I like. Things like that. Just little things.
I know. Those things are just, they're like, they're necessary, and you're like, my brain, I don't have the power for that.
Exactly, and I know I'm going to Washington for the first time to meet up with people. It's important. It's also nerve-wracking, but I know I can do it. I know I have to do it, and I know people like you and all the listeners. They're behind this. We want this, and we need this. So yes.
Well, I would love to do what I can now that I know more about it. I didn't know about the Breastfeeding Foundation until you reached out. So thank you for reaching out. And I would love to help any way I can.
Oh, thank you, Abby. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, thank you for helping me get the word out just on this podcast. It's really special. And
yes. I appreciate it so much. And I hope you come back with an update maybe in a few months about what's been going on.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you for the invite. Most appreciated.